Hi, my name's Zach DeLuca, and this is the final draft of my Discourse community project. I'm going to start off with talking about the history of the Discourse community, followed by the current state of the Discourse community in today's date, and finally wrapping up with my own personal experience in the Discourse community. The game was originally released in 2014. However, for the first year or so, there was mostly much smaller groups and Discourse communities compared to as the current large one. The overall large one had not yet formed. That would come a few years later. These Discourse communities usually formed through real-life relationships, whether they be friendships, families, etc., just personally knowing someone in real life. Online Discourse communities and smaller groups were usually formed and found through forums such as the official Bungie forum and places such as Reddit, YouTube, Twitter, what have you. But around roughly a year and a half later, the overarching Destiny community was really starting to form on these platforms such as YouTube, like I said, through the rise of many popular YouTubers in the community such as MTashed, True Vanguard, Gathalion, and Dr. Lupa, just to name a few. And even on Twitter, there were the rise of many personalities. Even to today, there are. And forum posters on Reddit were very loud and still continue to be loud on the official Destiny the Game page. Like I said, even to today, these three platforms still hold much of where the Discourse community interacts online, and this is where really the main focus and voice of the community comes from. The Destiny community as a whole does not just interact online, as there are many in-person conventions and meetups held every year, most notably the biggest being GCX, which stands for the Gaming Convention Expo, formerly known as GuardianCon. In the past year, they underwent a name change as Guardians, or what every player's in-game character is referred to, and they've made the move to be more inclusive with other video game fan bases and communities. The current state of the Destiny Discourse community is very interesting and has a very fine balance to it. There are a variety of people who play Destiny, with there being 8.4 million players to count, and every one of them fall on a spectrum of how they view the game. This ranges from people who scream from the hilltops, so to speak, on how bad the game is and needs changed over every small detail, and on the opposite end, there are people who believe that the game is perfect in every way imaginable and the company has done no wrong decision or created no wrong activity or what have you in the game. These two are very opposing views and thoughts and interact with the community in a lot of different ways, and sometimes creating toxic environments and, depending on how some forms are moderated, mistreatment of others. All of this leads to some very serious issues to the point where companies who run these services have had to step in occasionally. This is dangerous for the community because not only can this be hurtful from one person to another, but it can also influence and impact the growth of the community if newer members don't like how people conduct themselves who play this game and try to interact with others in the community. My personal experience with this Discourse community is not necessarily a common one. In 2014, I started on the game as what is considered a solo player and did not interact online or much even in person, save a few family members and friends who also played the game. And I never went out of my way, even on forum posts, to try and find others to play with until about 2015-2016, like many others. Also in 2016, I created my own YouTube channel to try to create my own online content for the game and began to interact with others on forums to get more interactive in the community as well. I have since moved on to creating content on other social media sites, being Twitch and Twitter, but creating online content about the game has been a constant in my life, which I believe gives me a bit of a different interaction with the community than the average person. Another way I interact differently with the community than the average person is that I manage a clan in the game, and a clan is just a group of people who have the same tag on their usernames in game, signifying that they're part of the same group and that they play together often. I've managed this clan for about 2 years, and while there are hundreds of thousands of other clans out there, obviously not everyone is a leader and manages one, so this also separates my experience from others who obviously just play the game regularly and on their free time. It's a bit of a big commitment, and not everyone is willing to invest in that.